Welcome USD 264 stakeholders, parents, community, staff, and anyone watching on YouTube. Just want to bring our first update of the year to you. This is volume 20, so we're starting our third year kind of conducting these updates to make sure that we can work on our communication and provide good, consistent, and clear communication. So this is our first one for the 25-26 school year. We're hoping everyone had a great start to the school year. We're coming up on just completing our second full week of school. It's hard to imagine how fast it's gone, but also how fast it's going to go as we get started. So in thinking about that, our focus for this month is we're going to really just revisit our chronic absenteeism. Some of the work that we were focusing on last year as a board goal was reducing that chronic absenteeism, which should increase student achievement, which is strategic plan goal number one, and then also making sure that we provide that consistent, relevant communication through all of our processes for you during that. So we want to make sure that we're clarifying that process today, and that we make sure that we're also going to celebrate the success that we had last year with some of our work there. So part of our why, the state is focusing in on attendance. I think if you've seen a lot of things pushed out by KSDE over the past couple of years, is realizing that as we came back from COVID, attendance had a way of not having the same importance as it was before, and that we also were making sure that we were getting everyone healthy. As we kind of have moved past that, and that is now a thing in the past, we're really wanting to make sure that we can focus on those students that miss more than 10%, become chronically absent. What are they actually missing when they're at school? And then really looking at the difference of the correlation between student attendance and student achievement. What we do know through research is that when students are in school more, they achieve more. When they're in front of the expert, the teacher that they get to work with each and every day, they're going to learn more. And so we really wanted to make sure that we understood what chronic absenteeism is and how is it measured and kind of why is it a focus. And then how are we going to actually work on this, and how have we worked on this at USD 264 over the past year? One, parent communication. So we started increasing our parent communication. And again, we also as a district know that probably when we were rolling this out a year ago, we didn't know what we didn't know at the time. And part of that was just making sure that parents understood the communication that was coming home and why it was coming home. So again, we're putting this out now. So as we get ready to start looking at our attendance again for this year, we can really communicate with the parents as to the why we're doing what we're doing. We also kind of created some student incentive awards. So if you paid attention through social media last year or talked to some of your students, you saw things such as Principal's DoorDash that the high school participated in, where a student was a monthly winner and they got to pick a lunch for them and four of their friends, where Mr. Clevenger or Mr. Cooper from the high school went into town, went into Wichita and grabbed them whatever lunch they wanted. And the way that they achieved that is that they had went to school for one full week without missing a day, without missing a period. Their name got put into a drawing. At Sims, at the intermediate and middle school, they had their Principal's 100, so they had drawings every day, and you could receive an award if you were there on that day, as well as they also produced a incentive for students that had perfect attendance. So at the end of the school year, they took a group of students to Dave & Buster's for the day. Dave & Buster's also participated in giving some prizes away to those students that did it. And then finally, we started working on that. We have what's called a BESL team, which is Behavior, Social, Emotional Learning. We have a team in each building, and that building, each team in that building also started working on their opportunities to intervene with students who are missing, kind of figuring out why, having those conversations, making sure if it was where they did not feel safe that we were provided those opportunities. And I'd be remiss if I forgot when we were on the slide some of the work that the elementary school did. They also had random acts of attendance, meaning on certain days they would just surprise everyone and give like a popsicle or something like that for being in school on attendance. They also had monthly winners that they awarded in doing that to provide that incentive to do there. And then when. So some of the communication that's going to be coming home, just so that we can review. After students miss 3 days, there'll be a letter coming home from the school principal to the parent, just letting them know that they've missed 3 days in one semester. The reason why we send the letter at 3 days is it's just a heads up. There is nothing that is saying, hey, something's wrong, we've done something wrong, we're doing something bad. We're just wanting to say, hey, you've hit 3 days. We want you to be aware that your son or daughter or your guardian or your student that you have guardianship of has missed 3 days. When we get to 5 days missed in a semester, then you'll receive a phone call from the office just stating again, hey, we've got 5 days. Is there anything going on that we need to know about? Is there things happening that we can help support? And then once we miss 7 days in a semester, which would end up being about half or about 5% of missing for the entire year, there'll be a conference with the administration. Again, that resets its semester, and those are just as communication tools so that we can open up the two-way communication between being at home and at school to kind of figure out how we can problem solve and work together on these issues of students not attending school. And then we really wanted to move in before we closed out today's video is with our celebrations. So while we harp on the idea that coming to school is important, we realized that there was a lot of great work that was done not only by the teachers, but also by the parents and the students in coming to school last year so that we can have the opportunity to kind of celebrate. And really when we look at starting off at CEW, in the 23-24 school year, their chronic absenteeism rate was very, very close to 18%, 17.79. And they reduced that to 10.41% just in 1 year. So a 7.3% reduction in chronically absent students. Again, that's measuring the amount of students that were missing more than 10% of the school days, which would have been more than 16 days last year. So we only had 10% of the student body miss more than 16 days last year. And when you look at each grade level, we'd really like to just shout out to those parents and the students of first grade. Only 5.26% of first grade was chronically absent last year. That's a great accomplishment to making sure students are getting there and being prepared every day for that. And as we jump into CIMS, we would like to really point out that there was a dramatic jump, almost an 11% drop in the students that were chronically absent from a quarter, from 25% of our students to 14.8%, with us beating the state average by 2%. That is a great accomplishment, again, to be able to celebrate a reduction of 11%, which in that case is about 42 students at CIMS. We have a little over 400, almost 412 students at CIMS last year. And so for 10% to 10% of them to be less chronically absent, that's about 41 students that were now in school at least 90% of the time. So that's a great accomplishment. And you can see the grade levels there. Had some great grade levels, but 4th and 7th grade really did a great job of being close to right around 10%. And then here finally celebrating at the high school, where we know high school attendance is where it becomes a little bit more of a problem, where students have the opportunity to get themselves to school, and so it's a little harder to monitor at times. But we reduced our chronic absenteeism from 33.6% to 18.7%, a 15% reduction in the amount of students that were chronically absent. And I'd like to really point out there, our 12th grade students, it was only 13.58% of the students were chronically absent last year. That was a real kudos to that senior class in helping that. And as you can see, we killed the state average by almost 9% in that reduction last year. So we are really, really excited for those numbers, and we're really excited about those opportunities that our students had by coming to school next year. We want to continue to get better, get 2 to 3% better in each building again this year with our chronically absent students, because we know when they're there, they're going to be a higher chance of being successful, not only academically, but also in their post-secondary effectiveness opportunities. And then finally, we just want to kind of share what our theme is for this year. So it's Be in the Arena. It's all based off of Teddy Roosevelt's speech called In the Arena, and it's really that idea of when we are one team, one family, one district, we're in the arena together and we're supporting each other and lifting each other up through the good times and through the bad times. And as always, if you want to reach out, here's the contact information. You reach out and let us know if you have any questions or concerns, and also please follow us on our social media, and please follow us on the school's Facebook page where you can check out the Friday photo dump, also interesting stats and information that we share each and every time. So thank you for listening to this, and we'll see you next month.